You found Stryker of Enyo, and the following is an excerpt from my main video, I Play Every Xbox Live Arcade Game Part 1, a massive 3-hour experience that I encourage you to check out if you like what you see here. This is just a small segment, or it may be a collection of content from that larger video. Check my channel for more. Yeah, you see why I don't go in order from what they show in my games? This is a Batman game, but they list it under Blackgate Deluxe Edition. So you could have just paid $20 for this in the store, and then you come to your games and you're like, hey, where's Batman at? Granted, the only reason I need to scroll is because I've got every other arcade game in the store in this list. The full title is Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate Deluxe Edition. This is a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer developed by Armature Studio. And no, I didn't say amateur studio, let's be adult about this. It's not that highly rated, but I mean, come on, guys. They were tasked with bringing the Batman Arkham experience for the first time to handheld systems, which were the Nintendo 3DS and the PlayStation Vita. Only 6 months later, the consoles and PC got an HD version called the Deluxe Edition. We see a lot of mixed reviews for the game, with aggregating review website Metacritic giving most versions a 60 to a 62 for a score. For a game released on April 1st, the joke seems to be on us. Yes, that's right. The game came out on April Fool's, not a great day to pick. The game takes place 3 months after the console version of Batman Arkham Origins and has you trying to recapture Black Mask, Penguin, and the Joker. The animated cutscenes have limited motion and no lip sync, which is fine for a handheld or arcade game. But they can use some awkward angles, and they aren't very dynamic considering they look like a comic book. The story isn't bad, but it uses a very basic setup, and it's not very memorable. The gameplay is strictly 2D, you can only move left or right, but the game uses 3D environments to kind of hide this, having you grapple into the background or move around a 3D structure, even though your movement is still limited to left and right. You are going to see several elements from the Batman Arkham series from Rocksteady. You have detective mode, where you can scan objects for more info, you can grapple on top of statues, glide kick into enemies, and find new upgrades. All of these elements had to be completely recreated for this game, so no existing code was used. The combat is also reminiscent of the other Arkham games, but now everything is done on a 2D plane. You got takedowns, counterattacks, basic attacks, and you use the cape to stun. But since they had to recreate all these elements and build the combat themselves, it never quite feels as fluid as it was on the big console releases. It looks decent, but there are several problems with it that will end up getting you killed often, like not being able to aim your attack at the intended target, or the evade button not even registering presses sometimes. The stun doesn't always work either, and it took me some time before I realized it's because Batman doesn't lunge forward like he does in other games when he uses it. He just does it from a standing position only. It's hard to get into a flow when fighting because of this, plus trying to counter doesn't seem to prioritize knife-wielding or heavy armor enemies in a crowd. Combat is frustrating, and sometimes it's going to take several button presses before your stun or evade or your counter is going to even register. I also had difficulty in navigating the facility due to not being able to see additional ways to proceed. See, you have destructible walls and floors like in the other games, but you cannot see these without using detective mode. You might come to a dead end, but you won't know that there's a weakened wall until you use your scanner. I also got very frustrated when I couldn't interact with a background element that seemed like it should be obvious to do. Like this object here. I tried to grapple to it or rip it from its hinges from several different angles, but it was only after I activated my scanner and spent several seconds highlighting it and scanning it that I could finally activate it. This sucks, and having to ask the player to constantly stop and use the scanner on every single room once they get stuck is an arduous process that grinds any fun that they were having to a halt. And you need to keep scanning items and walls throughout the game, even hours after the game first tells you about explosive gel or pulling down a wall. Every interaction seemingly needs to be scanned and analyzed first before you can actually do it. The map can be a little confusing to navigate as well, since you're moving around a 3D representation of an environment, but you can only move left and right, and sometimes this doesn't always translate to left or right on the map. It's a 6 out of 10. This $20 game is high priced, and it has a lot of frustrating aspects to it. It's still unique and it will give you about 8 hours of gameplay, but it's not backwards compatible, so the 360 might be the only console version available to you. If you're still thinking about getting this after the 360 store closes, then know that the Wii U version is the only console version that is displayed at 1080p and 60 frames per second. Both the 360 and PlayStation 3 run at 720p and only 30 frames. The Steam version can obviously also do 1080p at 60 frames, since that one is probably easier to get a hold of than the Wii U one. It might only be above average, but Steam might be a better option for you if you want the best looking version of this game. If you want to watch the main video that this segment was taken from, I Play Every Xbox Live Arcade Game Part 1, well, you can click on the entire thing over on the left side of the screen. Or you can check the playlist on the right side for more content and more stuff that's in that series. As always, thanks for watching.